the way they pronounce their words and things.
Hillbillies are good people.
Lots of
They just like,
I remember sitting on the porch
sometimes
when I was a kid,
still
listening
use
to my
a lot of these.
uncles and
We
older
talk like
brothers
hillbillies up here, I
neighbors
guess.
sitting around talking.
It's just
And
the way our accent
just-
is, I guess.
it was just so nice.
Well, I'm located about 100 miles west of Asheville and about 100 miles south of Knoxville, Tennessee, right here in the corner of North Carolina, joining Tennessee and Georgia. And the name is Jim, Juliet India Mike, and I'm located in Robbinsville, North Carolina. Roger?
Hello, Jim, up in Robbinsville, North Carolina. Yeah, very nice to meet you today, Jim. Nice seeing you down here.
To outsiders, the accents and pronunciations in mountain speech may sound quaint, uneducated, or worse, but they often resemble the English dialect spoken in Scotland and Ireland.
I've heard a lot of older women, instead of say wrap something up, they say wrop it up. Yeah. And instead of instead of your ear, it's yer. You lag. Instead of calling a tire on a car a tire, you call it a tar.
You call tires, I call them tars, and they used to call them casings years ago. You ever hear anybody said, hook them casings on that vehicle?
That's what they called them before World War II.
Yeah, it's casings. Then I call them tars, you know. How much you want for them tars? Look at them tars, and they call them tires.
Talking about like that, like if you had some wood out in the yard, instead of saying carry it in the house, you'd say tote it in the house. And like if you had something that you wanted to put in a paper bag, you put it in a paper poke, you know, instead of a paper bag. Well, the way people talk around here, I guess it'd be what more like you call hillbilly style or something, I guess. I don't know, just mountain talk.
Most of your local people have your mountain talk. That's the way you can tell the mountain people from your outsiders, by their language they use. Say, I'll see you over yonder. It means I'll see you like in Waynesville. It's a mountaintop kind of.
Never, nothing stops. It's like a singing, you know. We're kind of like we're singing. Lita said we're singing, not talking, you know.
Yeah, I like my moped. Everybody hears about Graham County, don't they? How good the people is, how they'll help you. I run into people I don't know, never seen them in my life, and I help them any way I can. Somebody said one day, you'll get knocked in the head. I said, well, if I do, I'm just knocked. They're just good-hearted. Everybody you meet, just 99% of them. If I didn't live here, I'd move, wouldn't you?
Where you want to go on vacation?
If I was going to go on a vacation, I'd just stay right on here.
Oh, yeah.
That's where my mind is all the time anyhow.
We are 20 years behind the whole country, but I wouldn't swap places with nobody. I feel much more comfortable here being 20 years behind everybody than I would be sitting in a lot of places and being so miserable. You don't like your neighbor, you don't speak to your neighbor, you're bitter with the world. Atlanta's a good example, or Raleigh. You drive down the street and everybody's wide open blowing their horns and don't know nobody and don't want to know nobody and don't care about nobody. It's quite a bit different up here.
Well, I lived in Washington, D.C. about 4.5 years, and I just seemed to be in hell with my back broke as live there. People are so good to each other here.
Many of the words and expressions in mountain speech are unfamiliar to outsiders. Scots-Irish settlers brought much of the vocabulary from Europe, but many new words and expressions were invented here by their descendants.
Just somebody coming up with a strange word is what it means. I mean, let's say you're trying to get something done, you're building something, and you'll take a look at it, like the word Saigoglin. You're looking at it, and it's all out of line, and you just might come up with the word Saigoglin. I do that myself. Can't think of anything right off, but I come up with a lot of new words myself. And so you get somebody standing around, they hear that, and okay, it's Saigoglin.
Say a carpenter has done a real poor job, and then you say, that's all Saigoglin, you know, he didn't have his wall straight, or...
They'll stand back and look, if something ain't like, they say, that thing's Saigoglin. They'll say, I want you to look. Say, what is it? If you're building some kind of a... Said, that's Saigoglin right yonder. And said, that old road going up there, and said, that thing's Saigoglin.
My grandmother, she's always talking about people being stout or gaunt. She used words like peckerwood. If it's somebody she didn't like, she'd call him a peckerwood. If there's somebody she didn't know, but he's probably all right. She didn't have any animosity for him. She'd say, he is a jasper. There's this jasper come by here this morning. I knocked on the door, you know. But if it's a salesman, there's this peckerwood out there on the porch.
It's like people used to, you know, like you go in the store and say, put it in the bag. Old people say you put it in the poke.
That's a bag. I used to go to the store, walk 2 miles to the store, and when I was a kid, and carry a 25-pound poke of flour home. That's flour, by the way, not flour.
And me and my 2 sisters and 1 brother, we'd be waiting on them at the house to get our candy. Saul, the older man I was talking about, had a little poke of candy. He said, well, I forgot to get anything. Boy, we'd scream. Oh, here it is.
Plum was a common word when I was growing. Plum this and plum that. Plum over there. Well, he was just plumb wore out.
And that copper mine, that vein, they tunneled under the ground, plumb out through here to Snowbird.
Like the wind was blowing, you know, a lot of air. They would say it's very Irish outside.
Irish, it means it's a little bit chilly outside.
It means it's Irish, that means it's chilly today. It's Irish today right now as we speak. The air is blowing and breezy.
They go store and buy a Coke. They call them dopes back in. I don't know if you ever heard anybody say that or not.
That's what we drank when I was a kid. And it was called, they had Knee-High, they had Pepsi-Cola, Royal Crown Cola. A lot of them, that was dope.
Oh, a dope. You're talking about like a soda pop, soda water, yeah. Yeah, soda water, yeah, dope.
That's all they ever called them around here as a kid. I mean, that's...
Now, if you go up toward Ernestine's place up there, stop along there about where you turn up to Tony's there in them pine patch, right, and along with that log house, you probably see a boomer right there.
A lady come through, she said, oh, I said, that's a pretty boomer. She said, a boomer? What's a boomer?
You know what a boomer is, don't you? You ever see one?
What's a boomer?
They make a lot of chatting noises. They're about the size of a wharf rat.
A wharf rat?
Yeah, a wharf rat. Big old rat.
A boomer is like a little squirrel. It's not a squirrel.
It's a mix between a gray squirrel and a chipmunk.
Except it's red.
Can you eat them?
Yeah.
She said, that's a red squirrel. I said, well, to me it's a boomer. We always called it boomers.
Say it's an old skull. I mean, that's old Dad land. Won't grow nothing, you know. Call it skull. I don't know if you have heard that. Or, I know you have. Call it a skull. Poor land.
That's like a carburetor in my van, all gommed up with all that old dirty stuff.
Gom means like it's all cluttered up, gommed up.
Yeah, that means it's in a mess. That's what I would do.
They didn't know they talking such educated folks, did they?
I know.
Instead of saying yonder, you know, over yonder, you know, it's over yander. Do you ever hear that word, over yander?
Yeah, I say way over yonder, yeah. Yeah, Mama used to come up to us when we was little and she'd say, goose or gander. She'd pull each year. You say goose, she'd say pull it you loose. And you say gander, she'd say pull it way over yonder.
Them little pigeons, they all know me. They say yonder comes him a riding at Harley Davis. They think it's a Harley.
Every region of Appalachia, there's usually, if you come there, even from another county, you don't have to come there from another state. You can just move from the adjoining county. People use expressions you don't understand. It's something that means something only to them. And that's one of the delights of mountain culture.
It may change from one community to the next. You'll have different idiomatic expressions and different combinations of terms and inflections that will change just literally from one cove to the next. As you move up through the mountains here, you know, from Graham County up into Madison County, then on up into Watauga and Boone, if you were to speak with native speakers, you would see how the idioms would change and how the inflections and things would shift.
Like down on Yellow Creek, it was so strange because the people on the lower end of the creek, which is the whole creek, if you went from one end to the other, it ain't 2 miles. I mean, it's not 2 miles. It's not a long distance. But the people on the lower end of the creek, they talked twice or 3 times as fast as the people on the other creek. The people on the other creek, if they told you a story, you was so bored and tired and wore out by the time they ever got through telling you, you forgot what they was telling you anyway.
I guess it'd been a year since he'd named it, but anyway, he named it again. He is going to get me a little red wagon. And one day he went to the store and he come back and I seen him coming with that red wagon on his shoulder. Pose was carrying it. And I run out there and run to meet him. I thought it was mine. And my daddy said, honey, that belongs to Pose. Says he got that for his little girl. Boy, I just felt like I was going to die, and I started to go back to the house, and he said, no, honey, it's yours. Come back and get it. I was pleased in one manner to death.
They have this wonderful expression, they Lord, which I guess is kind of like thou. But they Lord, Jonathan, I'm just about tickled to death. And you remember things that are said that well.
Yes, I did.
Me and Lisa.
She didn't need that
I
song
give
for
Lisa
mine.
high food and I eat high food.
Oh,
They,
no.
Lord, have mercy.
If you have talked to one of your neighbors on your front porch and he's about to leave and go back to his house, he may say something like, Jens, come go with us, which has always struck me as strange, but seems a rather genteel thing to say. And it also displays that other wonderful token of Western Carolina speech or Appalachian speech, the yuns.
My dad gets it at the farmer's market in Nashville. Where Jens was at, yeah. Jens might have even seen him yesterday and didn't even know he was there.
Well, when I was a kid growing up in Mississippi, U-All was frowned upon too. The teachers told us, try to avoid it, but it didn't work any more than telling people not to say yuns here really carries much weight. I think there are quite a few that are very proud to cling to those signs of earlier times.
Here's one, the old one. It's easy picked. I'll pick you another. Cripple Creek. That's one of the old ones. Hear Roy Clark picking it. I'll kind of slow down. I was picking too fast there.
I know English pretty good, that's about it.
Well, I know some
And part
English
of it's real old English.
Yeah, part of it I do too is old English. We moved to Maggie Valley and lived up here on Campbell Creek. I carried my lunch to school in a poke, and they laughed at me. But a poke was proper in England 100 years before. And it was. John Parrish has written a number of books, and he said, brother, if you don't believe that's correct, you look up Chaucer and Shakespeare and some of the things that was proper in those days.
Appalachia traces much of its ancestry to Scotland and Ireland, although many cultures contributed to mountain culture and mountain talk. The Scots-Irish brought an early form of English, and many older words and expressions remained in mountain speech long after they dropped out of mainstream English.
Most of the things that Chaucer used, we still use. It's just those little fossils that dropped out between Chaucer's time and ours that still remain here. Well, those are the ones that people are drawn to.
That's the easiest place to go to. I mean, but Chaucerian English, Old English, there's a lot of that. A lot of the phrasing and the framework of speech patterns, mountain speech patterns. But then, like I said, it's a very complex language. Really, it comes from many different places, and it's very spontaneous and quirky, and so it's not a simple language. It's not.
Looked on the hillside, seen Sally coming. Yes, my sweet Sally running. Love her, my Sally Goodman. Love, sweet Sally Goodman.
My ancestors came from 13 Mile Creek, Ireland. And no, they didn't come over on the Mayflower. They come over on a cattle boat.
In the second half of the 1700s, large numbers of Scots migrated first to Ireland, then to North America. Most came into Philadelphia and moved inland, traveling south along the Shenandoah Valley into southern Appalachia. Settlers from England, Germany, and elsewhere followed the same trails to find a remote piece of land they could call their own.
Where you are from determines who you are, and the cornerstone or the foundation of that is really all tied up in language. I think that's really it.
Okie doke, Harry. If you can copy, I live in the western part of North Carolina, a little place called Robbinsville, NC, and I'm not far from the Cherokee Indian Reservation. You might know where that's at. And the next little town close to me is Murphy and Bryson City and Andrews, North Carolina. Roger?
Well, I think we talk a lot like the people that came over from England and Scotland and Ireland, and we were so isolated for so many years. That's how we kept it, I think. Because you can imagine how isolated it was in these mountains before, well, you know, in the last century, the last couple of centuries.
Well, the dialect that I'm familiar with is due to isolation. That's it. We've been isolated in this region for so long.
Older forms of English form the basis for mountain talk, but languages continue to develop, even in isolation. The seclusion of mountain life nourished the Scot-Irish talent for improvisation. Every community quickly developed distinctive dialect features and new words and expressions.
While out walking on a Saturday night, walked into that Wild Bill Jones. Walking and talking by my true love's side, waiting for to leave her alone. He says my age is past 21, too old for you to control. When he reached for a knife and pulled out my gun, destroyed that poor boy's soul. Staggered and he stumbled and he fell to the ground, gave one lonesome night moan. Threw my arm around my true lover's neck, saying, darling, it's time we be riding along.
People back then done most of the courting and walking. They ride a horse one, that's about all it was.
We never went nowhere hardly, and we basically growed up in the holler there. All of us kids did, and Mama, she done all the, canning work. We never did go to the store for nothing, because she'd can all summer long and have the cellar full of food, and we basically just growed up there and lived there the biggest part of our life.
Me and Vera, we're about inside of each other's home here.
We've known each other all of our lives.
When we got married. My mother seen the first car come down Savannah here. First one ever did come down it. Been a lot of changes made since that.
We lived down on the mountain, maybe a mile from that road. And I could look up there, just a little boy, and see those cars, just the top of them go through up there. I had a place I could see them, Mm-hmm. And so when Dad come in from work, I'd beg him, I'd say, now look, getting about close to Christmas time, go up there and catch me in one of them little things, in little cars going around. I tried to get him to go up there and catch me in one of them. I said,
Well, I was grown before I was ever in Robbinsville. People had no cars in here back then. I remember the first car I ever rode in.
Asheville, that was just like a foreign country. Chattanooga, Atlanta, you didn't go that far.
Yeah, I'm pretty far from the stove.
They lived hard, people did back years ago, real hard. Yeah. I know when I growed up, we growed up hard. I mean, there wasn't nobody wanted to come back in these mountains and stay or nothing, because you couldn't live.
How far back does your family go in this area?
Long time lasted, I guess.
What was it like growing up around here?
It was hell. It was rough.
We sure went through some rough times.
We worked like mules bedtime because we went to bed up a day a lot, eat breakfast and gone. Didn't have time to say nothing to much.
No one that I knew around where I lived was well off. We all worked and grew our own food and raised a little tobacco, and some of us even made a little moonshine to get by on. And we didn't know we was poor until the government come along and told us we were.
Well, I didn't know it was hard because we had about the same as everybody else, you know. We didn't know we lived in poverty until we got grown, and Sergeant Shriver came in here with Billy Graham and said we were all poverty-stricken.
I've been asked if when I grew up or when my family grew up, if we didn't have nothing to do. Oh, I said, you're very badly mistaken. I said, there was plenty to do.
We lived good, but you had to work at it.
It was a good life. I'd like to live that again. The best life we ever lived.
You want some coffee, Ernest?
Yeah, pour me a cup. Get you around and pour it down, James.
That's all right,
You don't look miserable. We'll fall past still
but I'm resting my back that way.
You want some cookie?
Yeah. Back a long time ago, such as my granddaddy, or there was this old man named Manson Owens. He had a house full of little youngins, and the only way he could feed them, he couldn't get no job. He had to get out here and take what corn he raised and turn it into a jar of liquor. You can sell a jar of liquor when you can't sell a bushel of taters. And that's the way that folks put bread on their table for their kids to eat and put clothes on them.
Said Jim Tom Hedrick, master of an ancient craft with roots going back to the peat bogs of Ireland, is currently turning out corn whiskey without fear of hindrance of the law. With temporary dispensations, the 44-year-old native of the Snowbird Mountains set up a copper moonshine still here Saturday on the grounds where the second annual Great Smoky Mountain Heritage Festival opened a 5-day run.
You go over in Georgia, go to Tusquety, you didn't say, who's got whiskey for sale? You said, who's got the best? Because they all bootlegged then. Every one of them bootlegged.
Now, we had a lot of fun with all that stuff. But now you've got everything. If you don't like what you got, you can go to Hardee's or McDonald's and get you a chicken, you know. We had to shoot ours with a rifle out there in the yard and pick him.
And we eat everything on the pig except its squeal. Everything.
Yeah.
And we don't eat chitlins.
No, we don't eat
But we
chitlins.
eat ears and
Yeah, you like ears?
and
You ever eat
hoofs
hog's
and
ears?
hearts.
I was 15-year-old. I killed that first deer with a sawed-off .22 rifle, no sights on it. 15-year-old, played hooky from school. Boy, it was going round, and me trying to, it wasn't dead. I finally got it by the leg, and I was trying to get a shell in my gun. It was taking me everywhere, and I finally got one in there and pulled out a hammer back and finally got it down there this year. Spat! I got it.
You never had a squirrel?
No, sir.
You ain't never eat high on a hog, son, unless you do that.
Well, I'd like to try one.
Okay.
What about turtles?
Have you eat turtle?
I heard turtle was good, but I never had one.
Oh, I love squirrel
What
better than
about-
turtle, but I like squirrel better.
What about pumpkin blooms?
Pumpkin bloom, you ever eat any pumpkin
Fried.
bloom?
That's what you call branch lettuce. That's good stuff. You can take and cut it up and put onions in it. Pour hot grease on it. That's some fine eating with cornbread. I'll set that back out. I don't believe in wasting nothing.
Most time you didn't see nobody for a week or two at a time. They tickled to see somebody coming. And then that's why the storytelling got, you know. They tell them tales, maybe hope to stick around a little longer
You could meet somebody on the road and they'd just start hunting them a rock to sit down on to talk to you.
People had time for each other. They had, if they meet up with somebody, they'd talk to them maybe 30 minutes or longer. Now they ain't got time to talk to you. Their neighbors were neighbors back then, the way I'll put it.
You can go over to Fontana and catch one of them little brims about that long, and you think you've got a whale on the end of your line. But you just cut your little V-notch in it and wrap your line around there and tie them in about 2 or 3 knots. And you don't even have to have a sinker. Most of them little holes is not that deep, and the worm will pull the hook down. And you can catch your limit.
The isolation of mountain communities set the stage for innovations in speech and other expressions of culture, such as music, dance, and storytelling. Mountain people worked hard and lived far apart. When they had a chance to get together, it was a social event.
That is. Mother, we was going to sing a song or two, wasn't we?
Well, that's what I thought. But
Hand
then,
me my guitar if you would, please, and
Yes,
we'll see what
sir.
we can strum.
I'll try not to
We're liable to
hit it and knock it out
Oh,
of
well,
tune.
Mother. Well, I'll buy my love a dress red, skipped all over with the golden thread. She married me.
Oh, you need not buy the dress of thread, skipped all over with the golden thread, for I won't marry you, I won't marry you.
The outside world knew little or nothing of the mountain people and judged them to be without culture. The negative stereotypes have become well known and widespread. To speakers of mainstream English, the strange sounding mountain talk confirms these misconceptions.
When I went off to work, okay, and I was out here in these other places, they was all the time making fun of the way I talked. So I, of course, I tried to, to change my talk and but it never did work.
These other young people would come back and they'd try to talk like Yankees. And we'd all make fun of them and say they had the brogue. That's like trying to be somebody you're not. Getting above your razor.
Well, I'll buy my love a paper and pens, if that's the way that love begins. And she will marry me.
Oh, you need not buy the paper and pens if that's the way our love begins, for I won't marry you, I won't marry you.
My grandparents were Scot-Irish. I was raised by them here, and as a consequence of that, I talked the way they did. But when I first went to school, the teachers had trouble talking to me. I had trouble communicating with them. They told me quite frankly that the way I talked was associated with ignorance and backwardness.
And this college professor, I think he's from up north, over at ASU, he got up and introduced me, and he said, Now I'm going to tell you, said some of Orville's words you may not understand, you know, and he kept on talking, said you have to listen careful. And we got done telling this man, his wife walked up to me and he said, I understood you a lot better than I did that college professor. I got tickled.
Well, I'll give my love a dress of white that we may live and never fight if she'll marry, if she will marry me.
Oh, you need not give me a dress of white that we may live and never fight, for I won't marry you. I won't marry you.
I always know that, that language till I went in the Marines, Then I had to change my way of talking and stuff where they can understand me too. I could say one word to old people, they know what I was talking about. Now you're getting out, around the world now, you got to make a whole complete sentence what you're talking about. But everywhere I went, everybody knows me. So here comes old country boy. They asked me, said, now you're from the mountains. Now is one of your legs shorter than the other? And I'd say, well, hell no, it ain't shorter than the other, because you think you're standing on a hill all the time. One leg go further than the other, I never did, I said, well, no, my leg's just as good as yours are. Outrun you today, didn't I?
Well, I'll give my love the key to my death, and she can have money at her request if she will marry, if she will marry me.
Oh, if you'll give me the key to your desk that I can have money at my request, then I will marry you. I will marry you.
Like I'm a-talking, just plain old talk, I'll say, go in there and get me a sack of them taters out of the basement. And they'll say, potatoes. And then the way the rhythm of it is. There's a bunch of us ham operators on talking to the northern people in Pennsylvania, and they said, we have tried and tried, we can't get the swing of it. That southern talk. Said, we can't do it to save our life. And we told them we couldn't get that northern talk.
New Jersey, they've got their own way of talking, saying things. Like we say a boggin, they call a stocking hat, cap, or say a soda, or a dope, or a drink, or a Coke. They call it a pop. Says, you want a pop? I said, no, I don't think I need no pop.
You get in a bar where they're at, you think they all are going into a fight. They just like to raise their voice and run their mouth.
Florida people does it. I can't understand what to say.
Yeah, they make fun of the way we talk, but the way they talk is a whole lot different. So understanding them to us is like, or to me, it's like another language. It's like they're speaking foreign or something.
When up here, said, somebody talk real funny with a fine little voice. Said, you ain't from around here, are you? I can stay, yes. I said, you from there in Florida, ain't you?
You can tell a vast big difference in people up north. I love to just sit and listen to them talk, and they're the same way by me.
Oh, yeah, they think you're something else now. They don't know what to think of you, really. They don't know whether to kiss you or tie you up.
Well, I shan't give you the key to my desk that you can have money at your request, for I can't marry you. I can't marry you.
Well, that's okay.
The whole stereotype of the hillbilly and all those kind of things is poisoned the outside world, giving it a wrong impression of mountain culture and mountain speech. But it's also affected people inside the culture. We've become very sensitive to all that, how we're perceived from the outside, and so the language starts changing sort of from within.
Mountain people are either depicted as inbred and stupid variations of the guys in Deliverance, or there's the other extreme where they're impossibly noble and remarkable and intelligent, and I can't stand either one. Jim Wayne Miller told me once, he said, Gary, if I lived in St. Petersburg, Florida, and the only thing I knowed about the mountains is what I read in Foxfire, I'd think we is all jelly-making dulcimer pluckers up here.
I think it was 1964. I was 14 years old before we got electricity in the house. I remember I was 14 before we got it, and I remember the first light bill we got was $3. And Daddy didn't know how he was going to pay the light bill. He was going to call and tell them to take the electric back out of the house, but us young'uns gave her the herb stuff and had to pay the light bill so he wouldn't take them back in. It's better than sitting by the oil lamp trying to read a book or do your homework.
My brother said when he was growing up that if anybody had told him that they'd sometime been a box that would you could have turned on and it would have talked through that, the TV, he said he'd have told them they was liars.
Electricity, telephones, and television have a tremendous impact on the culture of any community. They were late to arrive in Appalachia, but when they did, they quickly eroded the isolation in which mountain culture was born.
And our first television, little round screen, boy, I'd lay back and watch that, Amos and Andy. I'd sit there till it went off, and I was up at daylight when it come on.
The TV was on all the time. It was a diversion, it was a distraction, and I think it had a tremendous impact on mountain culture. And I think it affected the language, and it probably affected a lot of other things. I knew that we were in trouble when I met a mountain girl down in North Georgia who lived up in Dial, I think it was. You couldn't get any more godforsaken than up in Dial and Cherry Log, where the roads run out. And she had a baby, and I inquired about the baby's name, and she told me it was Beretta.
TV has helped a lot on people getting together because, like you said, used to, your voice either brought you in or turned you off.
Yep.
And now it seems like they watch so much TV, a lot of it from the north,
Right,
that you don't pay as much attention as you used to.
The coming of television and radio certainly had some effect, but probably not nearly so much as the coming of improved roads. You don't interact with the radio or the television set. You don't often talk back to it. But if you can move out of the place where you were isolated to places where people do speak differently, those are the people that you have to interact with, and those are the conversations that are ultimately going to alter your speech patterns.
When I was single, May was my crave. Now I am married and I'm troubled to my grave. Lord, I wish I was a single girl again. Lord, I wish I was a single girl again. When I was single, I used to be afraid no one would ever wed me and I'd die a sad old maid. Lord, I wish I was a single girl again. Lord, I wish I was a single girl again.
We have probably 500,000 or 600,000 people that come through Western North Carolina each year.
And of course the economy is better as far as that goes. But we've paid a price for it.
And now they've got Ghost Town and Stomp 'n' Stomping Ground and Fairchild and Carolina Nights and Summer Camp 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 and the Thunder Ridge thing and several attractions now for people to come and see. But I remember when they didn't have nothing. First attraction in the valley I remember was old man Ted Sutton. He'd get out there on a wooden box he made and pick an old banjo and sing, and he was one of the first tourist attractions there was around here. Maggie Valley now is just about Miami. I mean, there's a few people here that's been here all their life, but people from Florida and places like that just about bought this country out.
When people like that moves into an area, it makes it entirely different. Because they think that it should go the way they say that it is. And maybe the people that they're living around says, no, that's not how it's supposed to be.
Well, that's the mountain customs are definitely a thing that is being lost, and it's a tragedy as far as the people that was born and raised in the mountains like myself, and I think it's real important to keep it alive.
When I was single, he used to come to court. He always brought me candy, and I thought he was a sport. Lord, I wish I was a single girl again. Lord, I wish I was a single girl again.
No, we have a lot of influx of people that's come here to get away from wherever they was. And they change it too. They change it a little bit. And sometimes it's for the better and sometimes it's not. They come here because it's perfect, and some of them try to change it as soon as they get here. You know what I mean? So I like it when, I mean, we got some real true friends that just love it here and are dedicated to the community. When people come maybe from up north, they go to Florida, and they come back, we call them halfbacks. And their attitudes are different, their personalities different, and their raisins different than ours. They're different than we are. And it takes them a while to get used to us or leave, because we don't change a lot.
Cows to milk and the spring to go to, a whole crowd of children are crying after you. Lord, I wish I was a single girl again. Lord, I wish I was a single girl again. Wash your feet and hurry off to bed. Your daddy's coming drunk and he'll knock you in the head. Lord, I wish I was a single girl again. Lord, I wish I was a single girl again.
That picture, I was 4 when that was made.
You look just like Cindy.
Huh?
Cindy looks just like you.
Well, she
In her
might.
picture-
She's
in
good
her
looking
picture
as
when
she
she
does.
was 6, yeah.
And we was well upon the point. And the picture man, as they call him, had always come to our house and spend the night. And then he'd take up them branches and make pictures all up them branches, as you call them, I reckon. There's nobody living that was living when I was young much. They're all dead.
With the older generation, the generation once removed from my generation, the dialect and the language will, in terms of it being used and spoken on a daily functional basis, will be gone.
But, you know, like today, you know, everybody's got television and stuff, and everybody knows what's going on anymore. And a lot of us, we're losing our heritage, you know. My son, he don't talk like me.
Tis the old time religion, tis the old time religion, tis the old time religion, and it's good enough for me. It's right over and over. Makes me love everybody, makes me love everybody, makes me love everybody, and it's good enough for me. Is the old time religion, is the old time religion, is the old it was good for our fathers. It was good for our fathers. It was good for our fathers, and it's good enough for me.
But that's about all I live in now is memories, 'cause seems like life sort of slowed down for me. As you go on through life, something will stop you here and you'll turn to something else. But after a while, it just quits. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I got a couple of sons real smart with computers. I don't know how to turn one on, but they're growing up, different. And we growed up no television, no electricity. Now I'm growing up and we got a couple of televisions in the house, and it just kind of changed a little bit with life as you go. You got to. Yeah. You got to change a little with the time.
Mountain culture is not passing. It's in transition. It is becoming something else. But so much of it is still intact. It's almost like it went underground, and it shifted and changed in order to survive.
I think in recent years, people have come to realize how important their heritage is. And they know if it's lost forever, If we lose it, how do we know who we are? I think it's really important to know who you are and where you came from,
Then you take the 10-meter band here and the 2-meter band and bounce your voice off of the moon, hit the moon and bounce and come back over 10 meters on the HF. They call that a downlink. And then you got your CW, I call it code, continuous wave, and that'll penetrate the earth. You can, well, there ain't no ending to that. It'll just keep it going.
I was going out here this morning in that little old truck, and I wasn't watching what I was doing. I come one hair turning 4 flips right down yonder.
Like the rest of the world, Appalachia's adapting to the age of communication. Old ways are fading from use and new ways emerging. Mountain talk is changing too, just as all languages and dialects change over time. But it is evolving, not disappearing. The greatest joys in life have something to do with individuality and the uniqueness of people. And speech is part of that. And I have no desire to look like, talk like some norm that everybody finds acceptable. I see no advantage in everyone speaking the same way.
We've let you know a little bit about our family, but
it's great.
I'll tell you one thing, though, really, to get to know us, you'd have to know us a long, long time.
Ways back out in the mountain land in the town of Cullowhee, a simple old mountain shack out there where I like so to be, where the wildflowers grow with the blooming laurel trees. Yes, and that old Tuckasegee River flowing wild and free, oh so wild and free. No other place quite like there to me. Home sweet home in the mountain land of the town of Cullowhee. Songbirds sing sweetly from the tall oak trees. The air is fresh as a daisy waving in the summertime breeze. Sometimes late at night out there when everything's still, you can hear the wild owl talking, singing high out on the hill. No other place quite like there to me. Home sweet home in the mountain land of the town of Cullowhee.
Well, that ain't a drop in the bucket. What I can tell you, that ain't a drop in the bucket.